Hi, welcome back to Waxing On. It's Friday. We're wrapping up Tom Waits week, and I promise you something a little, I guess, more unusual or more rare than some of those early albums. And this is the first album that I know of his material that got released. It's just called Tom Waits: The Early Years. It's on Bizarre Records, and I mentioned that on Monday. He got signed by Herb Cohen back in the very, very early years. This album, I think, was about 1970 or something that it was recorded, 1971, on Bizarre Records, which was kind of tied in with a connection to Zappa. But never got released until the 90s, well after Tom had already made a name for himself and was well known. So they dragged these out of the archives, put them out. Now, this one was not produced by Bones Howe. Producer on this one is Robert Duffy. And again, that's not a name I do recognize. The songs, I don't remember him doing any of these again. Like, he didn't redo them when the time came to his other recording contract with Asylum. So as far as I know, they're only available on this, which was on Bizarre Records, and it could also be, nope, that's just it. Bizarre is the only one. Sometimes you get other reissues. And this one came with a very simple insert. Basically just a list of songs. So we don't have a lot of information about who was playing. We know it was recorded in December or July through December 1971 in Los Angeles. Tunes here: Going Down Slow, Pancho's Lament, I'm Your Late Night Evening Prostitute, I Had Me a Girl, Ice Cream Man, Rockin' Chair, Virginia Avenue, Midnight Lullaby, When You Ain't Got Nobody, Little Trip to Heaven, Frank's song. Now, I don't know if that ties in with Frank's Wild Years. It was released well after the 1980s segment with Asylum on his new album. I have to look into that one. Looks Like I'm Up Shit Creek Again, and So Long I'll See Ya. Again, not a lot of familiar tunes, not a lot of songs that were covered by anybody else, but as far as I know, first album of released tunes. Again, coming out almost 20 years after Closing Time. So after he had actually got on recording and, was making a name for himself out there. So they pulled these out. Sometimes these are tough. I mean, I can remember seeing an old Van Morrison one once he got popular. The early people that signed him were cranking out old stuff, and it was confusing when you were used to hearing the mainstream, the stuff he was actually putting out. When they drag out these old ones, it's sometimes hard to put them in perspective. It's nice to hear it, just to experience those early years, this creative stage before he'd actually developed that whole persona that he had when he was performing later on. This is pretty much straight ahead music. It's not quite as iconic as some of the other tunes might have been or some of the other performances might have been. He hasn't perfected or even worked on as much that character he was portraying in those later albums, the persona he did with the Beat persona. But it's interesting in the fact that it's something new a lot of people haven't heard. It's experiencing that creative process where he's getting started, what he's writing at that time, and how that evolved through to what we heard on Monday with Heart Attack and Vine, just to where that led us. So there's quite a path to follow through there to see how his whole style, his writing style, his singing style, his performing, his accompaniment, all progressed and changed through till we hit the end of the Asylum years with Heart Attack and Vine. Now, I think this one also might be on the streaming networks. And I know you can still get hard copies of it. And I'd say this kind of stuff you find in the yard sales, but hey, tell me the truth. Not a lot of people are going to have Tom Waits stuff. You're probably not going to find that in everybody's yard sale or, garage sale. If you're lucky enough to find one, grab it. I mean, I was in a thrift shop here back around Christmas time, found Leon Redbone in there in the middle of the country where I am. I thought nobody even would know who he was but me. There it was. So you never know when this could pop up. And basically, it's just called The Early Years. It's on Bizarre Records. They had a great logo there. I'll just show you it. You can get a look there. If I'm not mistaken, maybe my early Mothers of Invention albums might have been on Bazaar as well. But anyway, so that wraps us up. We've had a great week, some great tunes to listen to, some great albums for you to explore. If you came into Tom's career later on after 1980, you might want to go back and just see where everything began. If you're familiar with this, a great chance to go back and revisit some of it again. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Till then, everybody take care. Stay safe. Thanks for joining us.